some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to the home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away when the shadows of this life are gone. I'll fly away like a bird from the distant fly. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. Just for weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joys will never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away.
Hello, everybody. Good morning to you, or whatever time of day it is. And I hope you've had a good week. We're going to start out. I just want to mention we have one more birthday for the month of May. It's Ted Allen, and that'll be on the 27th, which is coming up really fast. It's I don't know what happened to this month. Memorial Day is Monday, and it's just flown by. Ted, speaking of, is having problems with the incision that he had when he had surgery on his broken fibula, and it is not healing. He is getting home health wound care, but he may have to go back to the doctor if it doesn't get better. Also, Max Heyman having the same problem. Max was having to wear a boot because of his broken ankle, and his good foot was rubbing against the boot and got some bad blisters on that, and they are not healing. So again, he's receiving home health wound care also. And Max said, and I talked to Max this week, and he said that he is also getting physical and occupational therapy. He was in really good spirits. I enjoyed the visit. And let's see, Verna Korb is still looking for someone to move in with her, and full time. If you know of anyone who would like something like that, and Verna specified, I mentioned this last week, she wants female, and she wants someone who doesn't smoke and doesn't drink. A good Christian woman. So let me know if you know of anyone, or let Dennis know, one of us anyway. Laura, that Cynthia Blazer's daughter Laura has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and last week she spent a lot of time at MD Anderson doing testing, and tomorrow she's going to be having an MRI, which will help with determining the treatment plan. So keep her in mind, and hopefully, and it is supposed to be a slow growing type of cancer, so that's good. But keep her in mind and her doctors, and that they can choose a treatment plan that works for her. Also, let's see, I called Lucille Chestnut, and didn't get her, but I talked to her son, and he said Lucille had gone to the grocery store, so I missed her. And they are all doing fine. Her son is, and her daughter-in-law Julie, they're all fine. So that was good to hear. Brenda Simmons, she has a stress test scheduled for today. In fact, probably going on right now, and she will be getting a heart monitor today too, so keep Brenda in mind. And Sue Stevens, another leg injury, broke her fibula 2 several weeks ago, and she has started therapy at North Cypress Hospital, and she said she was going to have to wear her boot for 6 more weeks. She said she could do that, and I told her, you are a tough cookie. Yes, you can. So Sue will be getting therapy 2 times a week, so that will help. And I saw Sue, and she is up walking around some, so she's doing well. Ron Wolf is, this is a praise for Ron, and he's doing well, and has an implanted recorder, and doesn't have to go back to the doctor until August, so that sounds good. Bobby Gooch wanted me to thank everybody. Her little great grandbaby is doing really well, and she said she attributes that to all of the prayers that went up for the baby. So she said a big thank you. And I believe that's about it. Just remember, Irene Smith. I did talk to Irene. She said she's still in solitary confinement, and she is doing a lot of reading and watching TV, but she only communicates with her family by telephone, and she sees some of the staff members. They bring her meals to her room, so that's about it. So keep the people in mind in your prayers who are in living facilities, and that's really tough on them. Also, remember, keep our pastors and in your prayers. They're having to make some really tough decisions right now on when to start back up, and same thing with our president and our nation's leaders, and trying to get back in the swing of things from the COVID-19 virus. Pray for the medical personnel, the first responders. Pray for those who are doing research that they can come up with vaccine or something that will give more relief on this. Remember, pray for the people on the prayer list every day. So I believe that's it now. Dennis is up, and I wanted to say too, I almost forgot that I love the singing, the special music. We've had some good music with these videos, and Dennis is doing a good job lining them up, and I hope you are enjoying it too, and I'm sure you are. Thank you, and everyone have a good Memorial Day and a good week. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
All right, good to see everyone here this morning, this afternoon, tonight, whenever you are watching this. Hope you've had a good week and looking forward to Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Sharon, for coming up here and looking at all you people that aren't here that are now watching this. And let me encourage you to continue to pray for these on the list, and you should have received the list as an attachment to the email, and you can just click on that and open that up in your computer and print it out if you want to, or continue to pray for these each and every day, or as you pray and as the Lord brings those people to your mind. All right, so if you have your Bibles, take them and turn to Psalm 23. And we are continuing our study on Psalm 23 and what that looks like. And last week we just really got through that first phrase, "The Lord is my shepherd." And you know, it's an incredible psalm that we all know, we've all read, and it continues to bring us comfort. And usually it's said or spoken at a time when things are sad, and it brings us comfort that way. But I think we can use it in days like this to give us comfort, but to also give us encouragement, because that's what we need. When we look at the grandeur of who God is, the Lord, and you remember that the Lord, as that is used, is the personal name of God. It's not Mr. Lord, it's not Grandpa, it's Yahweh. It is His personal name. The personal God of this universe. And you remember last year I described the intricacies of the universe and how big the universe is, and how great it is, and how far it is. And scientists even today, they don't know how far it goes, that there are universes upon universes, and we're in the galaxy, we're in the Milky Way galaxy, and the vastness of that. And again, the closest star, Alpha Centauri, if we were to get a telescope all the way to Alpha Centauri and to look back at the Earth, wouldn't even see the Earth. And so we have the God, the God of the universe that holds the whole world in His hand, the vastness of God, the bigness of God. But yet we go out into our backyard and we scoop up a pile of dirt, and we look down in and we just see dirt and leaves and maybe an animal or some kind of insect. And then if we were to put that world under a microscope, our eyes would be open to the intricacies of that smallness of the world. You know, and when we know about our bodies and the billions of cells that make up our bodies, and the intricacies of our body and the cells and all the things that are in our cells to make our bodies the way we are, that is Yahweh. That is the Lord. The Lord is my shepherd. Not just our shepherd, not just the world's shepherd. The Lord is the world's shepherd. The Lord is our shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. My shepherd. My. Personally. You know, there's something about that personal relationship. You know, that He is the one that will provide for you. You know, it's always good for when Dad pays for supper, or when Mom pays for supper, or whenever a parent pays for supper. You know, there's just that security in it all. The Lord is my shepherd. Now, we know a little bit about sheep, don't we? Sheep are stupid. That's just the best way to describe a sheep. They are stupid, and they need help. They need guidance. They need to be brought food. They need to be brought water. They will do things over and over and over and over again, even if it's wrong. They do not learn. Kind of sounds similar to us as people, doesn't it? How many times do we do the same thing over and over, even though we know it's wrong, even though we know it's sinful, even though we know that we shouldn't do it, we still do it. We need help. And so the God of this universe is my shepherd. You know, and I told you last week about Psalm 22 and 23 and 24 and how those all go together, past, present, and future. And I would encourage you to read those Psalms again and just immerse yourself with those Psalms. And throughout the Bible, we see the Good Shepherd and the Great Shepherd and the Chief Shepherd, and all that is talking about Jesus and who Jesus is and what Jesus does for us. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And that's what I want us to look at this morning or this afternoon or tonight whenever you're watching this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We're loved by Him, we're created by Him, we're loved by Him, we're bought by Him, we're loved by Him, we're cared for Him by Him, and we're loved by Him. Do you understand what I'm saying? How much the Lord, the God of this universe, Jesus Himself, loves you. He is your shepherd. He desires to spend time with you. He desires to be who He is in your life. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Now, what does that word, the phrase that we have there, I shall not want, is all one word in the original language. And it means not to want. It means not to lack. It means nothing is decreased. There is no need. Nothing is made lower. There is no bereavement. And actually, as that word "want" is used, and that's how we memorized it in the King James. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. It, and many times, you know, we translate that into our own lives and our own experiences, and we understand that to mean what we want it to mean according to our own experiences. But in understanding that word in the original language, it means not lacking. It means not deficient. And not only just not as a negative aspect, but there's positive aspects of it. In proper care, proper management. The word husbandry comes up. Taking care of. And so not only not needing something and not wanting something and to be taken care of, there's an emphasis of utter contentment. Utter contentment, not craving or desiring anything more. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall be content. I will be taken care of. there is nothing that I'm going to need. Now we need to distinguish the difference between need and want. You know, if you have children, what are they constantly saying? I need this, I need that, I need this food, I need this whatever. No, you don't. You want this. You have all your needs taken care of. You have clothing, you have shelter, you have bread and water. All your needs are taken care of. Everything else is wants. And, you know, my kids know those rules in our house. So it speaks of contentment. You know, it's absurd to think of, again, who God is, and on the basis of that statement, I shall be content, I shall not want, that we will ever experience lack or need. Of who God is, of who Jesus is, we will ever need anything. Now, I want us to look, as we keep in mind this psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I want us to be reminded of the various compound names of God and how it relates to this psalm. You know the name Jehovah Jireh. It means the Lord our provider. It goes back to Genesis chapter 22, and you know that story. That's the story of Abraham and Isaac. And Abraham is being tested by God. How much do you love me? How much are you going to obey me? Abraham says, I'm going to love you, I'm going to obey me. And then God says, okay, go sacrifice your son. The promise. Everything that for 25 years, God promised Abraham a son, and finally is given a son. And by now, Abraham raises a teenager, and Isaac is a teenager. And God says, okay, how much do you love me? How much do you trust me? Sacrifice whom you think is the promise. And so that's what he does. And if you go back and you read Genesis 20, it's interesting, and I love it so much that God gave Abraham that commandment, and it says immediately the next morning, immediately Abraham obeyed. And so they travel 3 days, and they get to the mountain. They go to the mountain. There's firewood. There's everything. And Isaac asks, where's the sacrifice? I see everything, but where is the sacrifice? And Abraham says, God will provide. And so they built the altar. The firewood is there. Abraham binds Isaac, puts him on the altar, and is about to bring down the knife to sacrifice him. And God says, stop. Now I know that you will obey. Now I know that you trust me. And just at that moment, there's a ram caught in the thicket. They get Isaac down, they get the ram, they sacrifice, and they go down the mountain. And it says in Genesis 22:14, and Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. He called that place Jehovah Jireh. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Jehovah Jireh. He is the provider. We have Jehovah Shalom represented in those next verses. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord our peace. And we see in Judges 6 the story of Gideon. And it says here, the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." "Please, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonders of which the fathers told us, saying, has not the Lord brought us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken and delivered us into the hand of Midian." And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in strength you have and save, go in the strength you have and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Am I not sending you?" "Please, my Lord," Gideon replied, "how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is of the weakest in Manasseh, and I'm the youngest of my father's house." And so Midian gives all these excuses. "I'm from the least tribe. I'm the smallest. I'm the youngest." And Midian goes on to prepare a sacrifice for the Lord. Then the angel of the Lord extended the tip of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened bread. The fire flared up from the rock, consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Then the angel of the Lord vanished from his sight. When Gideon realized it was the angel of the Lord, he said, "Oh no, Lord God, I've seen an angel of the Lord face to face. I will die." But the Lord said to him, "Peace, peace. Peace be with you. Do not be afraid, for you will not die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord, and there he called it, "The Lord is Peace." Through all that difficulty, through all that situation, through that situation that Gideon went through of trusting God, he ends up calling that place, that encounter, Jehovah Shalom. I think I mentioned this earlier, but sheep will not drink from a rumbling, bumbling brook of water. The water has to be peaceful. He leads me beside quiet waters. And so if they come to a stream and it's making a lot of noise, there's a lot of mini rapids or whatever, the shepherd will go up the stream and he will dam up, a portion of that stream so that the waters coming down will be peaceful. Jehovah Shalom. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Jehovah Rophe, the Lord who heals. We see that in Exodus chapter 15. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea just right after the Exodus and leaving Pharaoh's army and crossing the Red Sea, and now they are on the other side, and the Red Sea has come back together, destroyed the army of Israel. They went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they walked in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink the water because it was bitter. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" And Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a log. And when he cast it into the water, they were sweetened. The water was sweetened. The water was made to be drinkable. There the Lord made them a statute and an ordinance, and there he tested them, saying, "If you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his eyes, and pay attention to his commands, and keep all his statutes, then I will not bring on you any of these diseases I inflicted on Egypt. For I am the Lord who heals you." Jehovah Rophe, the Lord who heals. And so we see a picture of Jehovah Rophe. He restores my soul. We see a picture of Jesus, Jehovah. We see a picture of who God is, Jehovah Tizkenu, the Lord our righteousness. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his sake. In Jeremiah 33, we see the promise of Jesus. In Jeremiah 33, it says, "Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will fulfill the gracious promise that I have spoken to the house of Israel and to the house of Judah. In those days and at that time, I will cause to sprout for David a righteous branch." Talking about Jesus here, messianic. "And he will administer righteousness and justice in the land. In those days, Judah will be saved and Jerusalem will dwell securely." Talking about Jesus' eventual reign. "And this is the name by which it will be called, the Lord our righteousness." Jehovah Tizkenu, the Lord our righteousness. "I will fear no evil, for you are with me." The Lord is there. Jehovah Shammah. Jehovah Shammah. "I will fear no evil, for you are with me." The last chapter of Ezekiel. And again, Ezekiel is a book of prophecy. What's it going to be like? And here we have in Ezekiel 48. "These will be the exit of the city," talking about the New Jerusalem, "beginning on the north side, which will be 4,500 cubits long. The gates of the city will be named after the tribes of Israel. On the north side, there will be 3 gates: gates of Reuben, gates of Judah, and on Levi. On the east side, same thing: gate of Joseph, gate of Benjamin, gate of Dan. On the south side, the same length: gate of Simeon, gate of Issachar, gate of Zebulun. On the west side, same distance. There will be 3 gates: gate of Gad, gate of Asher, gate of Naphtali. The perimeter of the city will be 18,000 cubits. And from that day on, the name of the city will be, the Lord is there." The Lord is there. Jehovah Shammah. The presence of God. The presence of God is promised to us. "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Jehovah Shammah. "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Jehovah Nissi. Jehovah Nissi, the Lord our banner. In Exodus chapter 15. You know the story. "And after this, the Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites. So Moses said to Joshua, 'Choose some of your men and go out and fight the Amalekites tomorrow. Tomorrow I will stand on the hilltop with the staff of God in my hand.' Joshua did as Moses had instructed him and fought against the Amalekites, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, Israel prevailed. But when he lowered them, the Amalekites prevailed. When Moses' hand grew weary, he took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. So he got tired, and so he sat down. But he raised his hand, they would win. When he got tired, the Israelites would lose. The Lord said to Moses, 'Write this on a scroll as a reminder.' Before that, then Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side, so that his hands remained steady until the sun went down. So Joshua overwhelmed Amalek and the army with his sword. And then Moses built an altar and named it, 'The Lord is my banner.' Indeed, a hand was lifted up against the throne of the Lord, and the Lord will war against Amalek from generation to generation. The Lord is my banner. The Lord is my strength. Jehovah Nissi. In the presence, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. You anoint my head. Jehovah Kadesh. Jehovah Kadesh, the Lord who sanctifies. The Lord who cleans me, the Lord who takes care of me, the Lord who sanctifies. Leviticus 20 talks about it. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites, any Israelite or foreigner living in the Israel who gives any of his children to Molech must be put to death. The people in the land are to stone him, and I will set my face against that man and cut him off from his people, because they're giving his offspring to Molech. He has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. And if the people of the land ever hide their eyes and fail to put to death the man who gives one of his children to Molech, then I will set my face against that man and his family and cut off from among their people both men and both him and those who follow him, prostituting themselves to Molech. Whoever turns to mediums or spirits to prostitute himself with them, I will also set my face against that person and cut him off. Consecrate yourselves, separate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, because I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God, and you shall keep my statutes and practice them. I am the Lord who sanctifies you. Jehovah Tizkenu. He is the one who sanctifies you. You anoint my head with over, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. So this is who we have. As the Lord is my shepherd, as the Lord is your shepherd, you have provider, you have the Lord our peace, the Lord who heals, the Lord our righteousness. The Lord is there. The Lord is your banner, your strength. He is the one who sanctifies you. You have this in Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall be content. How shall you be content? Because you have all this. Now, we have to keep a balanced life here. You look at the people in the Old Testament. You look at Elijah. You look at John the Baptist. You look at Paul. You even look at the life of Jesus. And to think that everything's going to be a bed of roses, that's not a good perspective to have. We keep our life in the perspective of the God is my shepherd, Yahweh is my shepherd, Jesus is the good shepherd, the great shepherd, the chief shepherd. I mean, Jesus even warned his disciples before he left. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So in the midst of our difficulty, in the midst of this COVID, in the midst of everything that we're going through, whatever you're going through right now, because of the circumstances, because of this world, know that they are there. God has allowed them to test us, not to tempt us, but to perfect us, to mature us, to make us who we need to be so that we can be the light to this dark world. Why are we enduring all this? Why are we going all this? Why is this happening? So that we can be the light. I believe people are open to the good news of the gospel. They're looking for hope. They're looking for peace. They're looking for something different. And we have that. You have that. And you have right now the ability for conversations out in your driveway, out in your sidewalk as people pass by. Be intentional. Be direct about the good news that you have. Philip Keller tells a story of a sheep man, a person who owned sheep next to his farm. He was a sheep owner, and so he took care of his sheep, and he understood what he needed to do. And he said the guy next to him was not concerned about the condition of his sheep. His land was neglected. He didn't take time for his flock. He let them forage for themselves. He didn't provide good food for them. The sheep themselves, they fell prey to dogs and cougars and rustlers and anyone else or anything else that would prey. He just didn't take care of them. and each year they were forced to gnaw away at their bare brown fields and impoverished pastures, and winter would come upon them, and there would be a shortage of nourishing hay and wholesome grain for those sheep to feed themselves, and the sheep went hungry. No place to shelter, no place to safeguard, no place to protect themselves from the suffering, and whatever the weather was, there was just a bare minimum of protection for them. He said, in their thin, weak, and diseased condition, these poor sheep were a pathetic sight. He said, in my mind's eye, I can still see them standing at the fence, huddled in a small group, staring wistfully through the wires at the rich pastures on the other side. The grass was greener on the other side. He said, to all their distress, the heartless, selfish owner seemed utterly callous and indifferent. He simply did not care. What if his sheep did want green grass, fresh water, shade, safety, shelter from the storms? What if they did want relief from their wounds, their bruises, their diseases, their parasites? He ignored their needs. He couldn't care less. Why should he? They were just sheep, fit only for the slaughterhouse. Watch this. He says, I never looked at those poor sheep without an acute awareness that this was a precise picture of those wretched old taskmasters, sin and Satan, on their derelict ranch, scoffing at the plight of those within their power. David says, the Lord is my shepherd. I have a personal relationship with him. We know the effects of sin. Sin is fun. Sin is pleasurable for a moment. And then as James says, it brings forth death. We can be encouraged today because of who the good shepherd is, of who the great shepherd, the chief shepherd is. And everything that he is to you and me, that's what he wants to be. Can you honestly say today, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall be content. I shall not want. That's who he wants to be in our life, the good shepherd. Would you pray with me? Father, I thank you for your word, and again, the simplicity of your word. You are our shepherd. You are my shepherd. Help me to be content. Help me to look at life through the perspective of who you are and what you're doing and what you want to accomplish through me. You have a purpose for me today. You have a purpose for each one listening to this recording. You have a purpose for them today. You have a purpose for them tomorrow. Pray that you would guide us, direct us. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Thank you for watching this morning, today, tonight, whenever you're doing. Look forward to seeing everyone here, but until then, we'll continue to do this. Make sure you're watching the services online at 9:30 and 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and throughout the week you can pull it up on the met.church and just look for sermons and archives and catch the sermons that you miss. Hope you're doing good. I trust that you are. Let us know if you're not, and if you have any needs, we will take care of you. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Good Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.